A large number of Africans who come to Europe illegally pass through Libya. For the last 2 decades, Libya has been the main starting point for African refugees and migrants crossing the Mediterranean. Between 65,000 and 120,000 sub-Saharan Africans enter the Maghreb each year, of which 70–90% migrate through Libya. The reason why Libya has become the most popular springboard for migrants and refugees entering Europe is manifold, and has to do with the country's unique circumstances. The Sahara, and Libya in particular, is a space of passage, agency, and connectivity, for merchants and explorers in the past and for refugees and migrants today. In today's video, I'll reveal how illegal migration is carried out through Libya, where people are often abandoned to die in the desert, in prisons, or in the sea, and sometimes even killed by certain individuals. Before reaching Libya, immigrants from various African countries must first gather in Agadez, a small town in Niger. Once a popular tourist destination, Agadez has seen a decline in tourism over the past few decades due to frequent bombings and tribal conflicts. This downturn has severely impacted the local economy, leading to a rise in crimes such as armed robbery and kidnapping. Under the guidance of a connection man, the immigrants are then transported from Agadez to Libya, where they are handed over to another intermediary. Rather than being transported in buses or taxis as they might expect, the immigrants are packed into the back of a small Toyota pickup truck, which only travels at night. Unbeknownst to the immigrants, these connection men care only about the money they make, not the well-being of their clients. The journey is full of terrible dangers, but these risks are rarely disclosed to the immigrants. When it's time to depart for Libya, people come to sell items like sunglasses, masks, food, water, and other essentials for the journey to the immigrants. Immigrants can also exchange their money for Libyan currency. After acquiring what they need, they are lined up and arranged at the back of a pickup truck, ready to depart. The connection man tries to cram as many people as possible into the truck to maximize profits, disregarding personal space. The immigrants are packed in tightly, with little to no room, and are given a tree branch to hold onto so they don't fall out. However, if the branch breaks and you fall out while crossing the desert, it's over for you because no one will stop to help, not even the driver. From Agadez to Libya is a 3-day journey. The connection man doesn't join this journey, so it's just the immigrants and the driver. Each driver typically carries at least 2 spare tires in case of a problem. However, some drivers don't have any spares, meaning that if the tires fail during the 3-day trip and the vehicle becomes immobile, you'll be forced to walk to Libya. If you keep complaining of discomfort or not having enough space, or if the car catches fire, which is very common in this journey. In these cases, immigrants would have to walk to Libya. However, the likelihood of you reaching Libya alive is slim to none, as most immigrants attempting the journey on foot either perish from hunger or thirst, fall victim to robbery, or are kidnapped for ransom. As a result, many bodies are left in the desert, and majority of the time these dead people's relatives will never know what happened to them. If someone passes by and notices an exposed body, they may sometimes cover it up. If you manage to survive all the obstacles and make it to Libya, you're halfway through your journey to Europe, specifically Italy. Once in Libya, the next step is crossing the sea. But this leg of the trip also presents significant challenges. It's important to understand that Libya lacks strong leadership and effective law enforcement, allowing crime to flourish. As a result, the crime rate is very high, and people often commit crimes without facing consequences. In 2023, Libya had the highest crime rate in North Africa and ranked 5th across the entire African continent. In Libya, there is significant discrimination against people with darker skin. They are often not allowed to use public transportation like buses and trains, and walking the streets can be extremely dangerous due to the risk of being killed, kidnapped, or even sold into slavery. As a result, many illegal immigrants are kept in camps until they are able to travel to Europe by sea. However, the cost of accommodation, food, water, and the sea journey is so high that most cannot afford it. To pay off their debt, they are forced into months of labor, or must contact their families for financial help. If the family is slow in sending money, the traffickers may call them directly, subjecting the immigrant to torture and abuse while their family listens. in order to pressure them into paying as quickly as possible. Now, if you have enough money to cover all the costs, including your sea journey, you and the other immigrants who can afford it will be taken to the sea, but only at night. The reason for traveling at night is that many people become afraid when they see the waves and the storm during the day. At night, you can only hear the sounds of the sea without seeing the threatening waves. But the means of transportation for this journey will shock you. Immigrants are given only two options: an inflatable boat or a wooden boat. The inflatable boat is meant to hold a maximum of 20 people, but the smugglers, who only care about money and not people's lives, pack around 150 people onto it. With so many on board, even a small mistake could cause the boat to sink. If someone has something sharp in their pocket that punctures the boat, it could be disastrous for everyone. Now, let's talk about the wooden boat. It's loaded with 500 or more people, divided between the upper and lower parts of the boat. Most immigrants prefer the upper deck because, in case the boat sinks, those below have little chance of survival. The boat's engine is also located below, making it unbearably warm, and there's no room to stand, so you're forced to sit or lie down for the entire journey. Once the journey begins and you're out at sea, these are just some of the dangers you might face. Most people assume that drowning is the only danger you face. However, there are other serious risks. For instance, if you're unlucky and a storm hits, strong waves could push your boat off course, taking you to Tunisia or back to Libya, where you could end up in prison. Worse yet, if kidnappers capture your boat, you might be held for ransom, sold into forced labor, or even face violence, as they sometimes start shooting indiscriminately.
When they caught me, I'd nearly reached Tunisia. That day, they killed more than 300 people at sea. They were shooting people in the boats. More than 300 people. They kill us. They're always doing it, killing the migrants. And then they throw the bodies away in the desert, just like that, like dogs.
Beyond the risk of getting lost at sea, you also have to worry about keeping water out of your boat. If you're on an inflatable one, you have to hope it doesn't get punctured. And of course, pray that your engine doesn't fail. These are just a few of the unpredictable dangers you face on the sea if you're unlucky. Now, let's discuss the rescue process. If your boat is near enough to Italy and in danger of sinking, you might be fortunate enough to be rescued, but only if luck is on your side. Here's how the rescue typically works. A helicopter patrols the sea, equipped with specialized cameras that allow the team to zoom in and assess the situation on the water. If they spot an immigrant boat, they report its condition to the command center in Rome. The helicopter team provide details such as the boat's state, the number of people on board, including how many men, women, and whether there are children. Based on this information, the command center in Rome dispatches a rescue ship to the area. The rescuers take with them telescopes to scan the horizon. When they locate the boat, they park their big rescue boat and approach the immigrants in smaller boats called dinghies. The rescuers first assess the immigrants' boat condition and the well-being of the passengers, and then they go back and bring the big boat and start the rescue operation. This process can take more than 3 hours. During this time, things can become chaotic, especially for those on inflatable boats. As people scramble to be rescued, the boat can capsize, leading to the tragic possibility of everyone drowning, even in the presence of a rescue team. Sometimes, while the team is attempting to rescue one boat, another overcrowded immigrant boat, carrying 500 or more immigrants, may also arrive. In such cases, the team faces the impossible task of trying to save over 1,000 people at once, often without enough life jackets for everyone. When the immigrants realize this, chaos erupts as they fight for the limited life jackets being distributed. In these situations, it's typically the strongest, usually men who survive. Tragically, women and children, including newborns, are often the most vulnerable and the ones who lose their lives. Although the rescue team sometimes prioritizes women and children, the situation doesn't always unfold as planned. They also make efforts to rescue people who are on the brink of losing their lives and provide immediate care. Fortunately, there is medical assistance available to attend to them. However, after being rescued and saved, you might assume that you can now rest and start anew, having reached the promised land. But this isn't quite the reality anymore. A few years ago, things were a bit easier. The sea was closely monitored and patrolled, so it was likely that rescue teams would find your boat and bring you to safety. From there, you could begin the next phase of your life, getting your documents in order and finding a job. But as I mentioned, things have changed. Several years ago, the Italian government launched a rescue operation called Mare Nostrum. The mission involved sending large military ships to search for and rescue migrants at sea. This initiative was introduced in response to the frequent appearance of dead bodies along the coastline, which created an unpleasant smell and made the sea uninviting. The aim was to save lives, but within a year of launching Mare Nostrum, they had rescued around 15,000 migrants, costing Italy more than expected. According to former Interior Minister Angelino Alfano, the operation cost the Italian government 9 million euros per month, totaling 108 million euros in just 1 year. Due to these high costs, the operation was halted and replaced by Operation Triton, which was financially supported by the European Union through an agency called Frontex. However, unlike Mare Nostrum, Operation Triton did not actively search for migrants at sea. Instead, it focused on patrolling the coastal waters, as it lacked the budget for a more extensive operation. This made the situation worse for migrants, and things got even worse when Matteo Salvini became Interior Minister in 2018. He announced a strict no-rescue policy for illegal migrants. If a migrant boat from Libya was found near the Italian coast, it would be forced to return to its point of origin. The boats used by these migrants are often not sturdy enough to make the journey to Italy, so imagine surviving such a perilous trip, only to be sent back in that same weak boat.
Boats that we witness coming here on the island of Lampedusa are rusty, which are completely unseaworthy. They shouldn't be in the sea in the first place, let alone with 500 people, women and children on board.
The traffickers in Libya don't disclose the truth. They claim the boat is brand new and the journey takes only 6 hours. But that is not true.
They think maybe they are here or here, but they are really just outside Tripoli. It's a very long trip.
According to data from the International Organization for Migration, between 2014 and 2023, an estimated 20,000 people have died or gone missing while crossing the central Mediterranean, which includes the Libya-Italy route. The central Mediterranean is one of the deadliest migration routes in the world due to the perilous conditions, unseaworthy boats, and lack of adequate search and rescue operations. Between 2014 and 2020, the total number of migrants using the Libyan route was around 700,000 to 800,000. In recent years, the numbers have been lower. For instance, in 2022, about 105,000 migrants arrived in Europe via the Mediterranean. The total number for the last decade likely exceeds 1 million migrants arriving in Europe through Libya, though specific numbers vary by year due to shifting migration trends and border enforcement policies. If you learned something from this video, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. See you in the next one.